There we go. If everybody can mute their mic, I would be grateful. Good evening, everybody. We are live. I'm sorry, somebody's not got their microphone muted. I don't know who that is.
Could you mute, please, Kelly?
Kelly, get your
sorry.
microphone,
Sorry.
please. All right. So we've got some guests this evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. If you are here, then you are here because you are watching us live. And maybe you are also watching us on the YouTube channel. Today is a new beginning. It's a new beginning because inclusion is, getting ready for the 1st of April. Launch is what we're doing. We're launching. Now, on the 29th of March, we've got our event. And on the 1st of April, inclusion officially launches. Between now and the 29th of March, we are going to be plugging inclusion and the development of our disabled entrepreneurs program, because we are about to smash the first one out of the ballpark. We are seeking £10,000. That's the just shy of £7,000 required for somebody to have a year of the minimum income guarantee, meaning that they are guaranteed to be allowed to have access to work for the first year and the second year, meaning that they've got a fair stab at going into business, becoming self-employed, going for themselves. Disabled people are, very unlikely to have a full-time permanent job, as most of us now are unlikely to have. In fact, we on the main, we undertake 4 career lifetimes, and that's whether you have a disability or not. Imagine what happens when, for most people who with a disability who get a job, they lose it in the first year. There's some crazy statistic like 40-something% of them lose that job in the first year. Now, I have some guests with me today. I'm Mandy Jane, by the way, or MJ, and I am the author of Lifespan Planning. I'm the founder, the developer, the creator of Accessibility Partners. I'm a provider of services to disabled people. I serve my tribe. I am a disabled person. I know disabled people. I brought some with me tonight. I would say that everybody here, yes, everybody here has a disability, and we're out loud and proud. We know that phrase has been used by other intersectionality groups in our world, but we're okay with owning some of that. You know, it is time that as a disabled person, we admit, accept, talk about the fact that actually we've not really been included that much. And we're going to change that. Inclusion is a charitable organisation that the organisation itself has been around doing good, first entitled Yell SOS, for the last 10 years, with a little hiatus in between when I could only do good from my hospital bed. And believe me, I did. I helped a number of people as soon as I didn't have an intubation tube in ICU. There were people who heard about lifespan planning up and down the hospital, from the cafeteria to the chapel. Believe me, I facilitated change from the inside out, and that's what we're going to do tonight. Nothing About Us Without Us was mentioned earlier in Inclusion on Clubhouse, if you happen to be there listening to Andrew Veazey, who's also here tonight. So, you know, that's where we're at. But I wanted to present tonight because I would like you all to see the ticker that's going along the bottom of this webinar. Okay, because it's a GoFundMe. Shortly, it's going to be a fundraiser instead of a GoFundMe, because we're moving on to a new platform. As soon as that first disabled entrepreneur is hit, inclusion goes on to a new platform, a Canadian platform run by one of the greatest guys, I think, that's likely to ever come out of Canada. Not that I've met many, but I would imagine that would be the case. And he certainly is one of a kind. So we're going to move our fundraising over to this new platform, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It means that we're going to be able to open up our services to so many people. Well, everybody, because it's all about inclusion, right? We're going to be able to get you your help, and it's going to be still at no cost to you, which is just exactly the only way I ever want it. And in fact, in Clubhouse, as Clubhouse gives me news, as they do, some of them, about the things that are rumbling, we are about to go, on our way there. So watch this space, and Easter is going to be full of more Easter eggs, to coin a Disney phrase than any of us could have ever really imagined. And thank goodness I have been trading and learning and developing my skills in Coinbase, in cryptocurrency, in selecting out of the market, in playing short, in playing long, in setting up, waiting until a certain number and then getting out. We've been playing with crypto, and the reason that I'm pleased about that is that artifacts such as the ones involved in lifespan planning are now for sale. Information, art, gifts, music, any ditto, poems, songs, elements of songs, you name it, we can turn it and put it to good use. I think that we need to be trading for good, whether that is going into business, whether that's providing business services, whether that's being part of the world. We need to be trading for good, trading ourselves for good. And that's what lifespan planning is about. It's about trading up for good, giving ourselves two good choices, looking at what our options are, and then, building a roadmap. So what is lifespan planning? I'm going to talk about it tonight. I may have already alluded to this, okay, yeah? Because lifespan planning is a roadmap. It is. It's a roadmap on which we can pin our hopes and ideas, our dreams, our wishes, our aims, our objectives, that which we carry with us until we let go of it. We can put on that road the marks along that road that to us mean that we are successful, whether that's getting married, having children, getting our first house, moving house. I don't know. For some people, it might be just even having a house. It's a roadmap. It's a roadmap for everybody, actually. And if you are watching this and you already feel that you have something to learn, then go and donate. Put your money where your mouth is, will you? Because actually, for me, it's about furthering the cause. It's about making sure that these roadmaps go to real people to do real things for people like us. Because I'll be honest, the idea this government's got, I think, if we boil it down, is that not the women and children are going to save the world, but pretty much that the disabled people of the UK and those that are economically inactive, that's our unpaid carers. I mean, they've drawn the line at children, although I wouldn't put it past any of them. I think we've gone to the days we're going to put them up chimneys because we haven't got any chimneys. But I think perhaps the days are here that we will put them into pretty much anything we can as early as we can, preferably to get them out of school, right? That's what I'm noticing. I'm noticing that parents more and more are looking towards services, particularly for children that are neurodivergent, differently abled, have experienced mental health problems, are challenged by the school system. I'm going to go on to that in a little while. Lifespan planning is a roadmap. If you think you're lacking a roadmap, or you know somebody that is, or you've got a kid that is, or you don't really know what the hell to do because you've just realised that you've got, I don't know, a disabled husband, you're disabled yourself, your child's just been diagnosed. What's neurodivergent? I remember wondering what the word autism meant when my eldest was diagnosed. Prior to that diagnosis, I was told he had semantic pragmatic disorder. Again, never heard of it. If you're struggling with something you've been given, I know somebody the other day that didn't understand that what they'd been diagnosed with was cancer, actually, just given a different name. Cancer of the lymph nodes. And If you're struggling because you have a disability or you've experienced a mental health problem, oh, that's quite a lot of us. Depression, anxiety, social anxiety is a massive one that nobody wants to talk about. And even if any of that isn't the case, lifespan planning is a roadmap and it's for you. But it's especially for you if you're experiencing anything of the following broad brush labels that we're gonna label these blocks. So lifespan planning is created from various building blocks, not particularly Lego, although I do love Lego. I love a good Lego. Lego, in fact, has asked for solutions for Lego and autism. They're really interested in their customers because a lot of Lego customers are autistic. It's all about the building of structures and rebuilding in different shapes and sizes, which is exactly what lifespan planning is. So let's see which building blocks lifespan planning can involve. Well, for those without disabilities, I think there's some very basic ones that just the way life is. We go to work, we need some money to, as a result of work to live. We have to learn something in order that we work, and we're all connected. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Right? Wake up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, go out, come in, go to uni, done, whatever. Can be, possibly, somewhere, to some people, it might look like that. It might. Maybe your education's a bit bigger. Maybe your work's a bit littler. Maybe there's a few other things, but a disabled person can't live like that. And they just can't. There's other things. And these aren't just all of them. These are just one or two. Like I said earlier, I think, I don't know whether it was here or inclusion, we can put a man on the moon, but I'm a wheelchair user. We can't put me on the tube. If we do put me on the tube, I've got to go in a manual wheelchair, which means that when I get into London on the streets, I can't actually get down and up the drop curbs, and I can't get across the roads fast enough. And indeed, I've got to go a million miles in a manual wheelchair. So I can't yet equitably use the transport system. Although London, Transport for London has done an amazing, incredible job. And it's award-winning, phenomenal, fantastic. Things are moving forward. I'm not moaning. I'm just saying there's still a massive difference. There's a massive difference in transport in that I can't get a taxi in Wales, and most people can't get a wheelchair accessible vehicle anywhere at school time because all the disabled kids are going to school and all the wheelchair accessible vehicles are being used because there's not very many of them that are wheelchair accessible, even though pretty much any car could be. If we're going to use them for taxis, right, that would make it equitable. So transport is just one very small area that, for me as a wheelchair user, or anyone on crutches, or somebody with one arm, or the use of one side, has to consider. Traveling, holding on, being strapped down, whatever it is that you've got to consider. Being able to even get a vehicle to the house. The last taxi I ordered, I told them it was a WAV. They turned up with this 6-seater place, and he came out and he went, "Can you get in? Can I lift your chair in?" I said, "No, that's why I ordered a WAV." He said, "Oh, can you walk?" No, that isn't what I asked for. So even if you can get it, when you get it, it still takes, 2 hours in Cardiff. So that's just one area. Money. Not only do women earn less, but disabled people don't earn at all in the main. There's loads of percentages and statistics, and they will be taught in the following weeks and months. So please, if you're not coming to this webinar yet, come, because you should come next week. There are things to learn. I'm going to talk about all of them. Wealth, nobody is given financial education. A little bit, even children that are perfectly normal don't get financial education, but disabled people absolutely not. Risk averse, no financial knowledge given, no planning, no idea about what the limits are for earning, for saving. I've had people that have come to me for lifespan planning, and they've turned up and they've had 20, 30, 40,000 pounds in the bank because they've been so scared of spending that actually all the time that they got disability benefits, they put it into a bank because they were too scared that one day it would go away, because the bank, the telly told them that disabled people's benefits were going to be taken any second now. And so they've been squirreled them and them away. and they'd really been living, I mean, really below the poverty line, below anything you could ever imagine, causing calluses on their feet to walk rather than getting a bus to save the money in case the benefits were taken. So when it comes to wealth or it comes to benefits, understanding what you're entitled to, getting access to it, keeping on top of that, and then keeping access to it. Because I keep saying to my team, it's all right, people getting access to work. That's what we do at Accessibility Partners. But keeping access to work for the rest of your life, that's a different caboot. That is. Disabled Students Allowance used to be great. I'm sorry, but I have to say that I don't agree it is anymore. And I'm happy for people to have a discussion with me in a minute about that if they want. But tonight it is about lifespan planning. It's about what it is. And what about the difference? Well, the difference is in health. We have health inequalities. We die earlier. Disabled people I'm talking about. Somebody said to me the other day, well, my friend said that everybody in their family dies early. So they're not going to be investing in their future financially because they don't think they've got one. Health inequalities. Wealth. Don't think about investment with people that are disabled. We don't even think about them being economically active yet. Benefits, how do we apply? And when we do apply and we get them, why are we so ashamed to tell people that we receive them? Huh? I'll tell you why. Because that's what this government, and I'm going to name it, this government, and some previous ones have made people feel like, and that's a disgrace. And I hope each and every one of them that have ever done that never require the help of anybody else in their lifetime. Not the NHS, not the financial system, no charity or aid foundation or family member or mother or father, etc., etc., because God forbid that they have to lean into somebody else. So, yeah, money, wealth, health, transport, children. When I became pregnant the second time, my husband at the time was asked to convince me to have an abortion because I was the medical need, because the baby hadn't been born yet, and it was too much of a risk to me to have this baby. So he should come and tell me that it was a good idea for me to not have the baby. Funnily enough, as much as we're no longer married, he was respectful enough to tell the doctor that he could come and ask me because he would not want to hear what was being said after the suggestion was made, but he would certainly share that with me. But he felt that I would be talking with the doctor quite soon after that. And he was right. And I carried on with my middle one's pregnancy, which was good. But even when it comes to children, the idea that I wasn't going to have children, so nobody really told me anything about it because they didn't think actually I was going to be fertile. Didn't think it was possible because I should have been a twin. So nobody really told me things. And as a child that was exited from PSHE, which actually meant physical education, with some other stuff thrown in when they were jumping about on the field and talking about things like periods, I didn't go. Because most of the time I wasn't allowed because I was so disabled. And the rest of the time I was busy being made the office prefect and being put to work, basically. Oh, what did I say about this government? And it wasn't this government. In fact, actually, was it? Oh, it was. There we are. That'll be why they put me at school, at work, because they were living through this government. Except it was in the years of Margaret. So maybe that's why. But I was either, so I missed it all. And even if I had received that education, it certainly wouldn't have been about me. Not about my body, not about how my body worked. And then our career, well, nobody thought I was going to do anything, right? I was just going to stay home and look after my mum. That's what was going to happen. My mum was disabled and I was just going to look after my mum, which is why I pretty much went and did the shopping, cleaned up, you name it. How was it? Really. I think I even organised my own birthday party, the only one I had. I think I organised it. But I was like that, right? I made house. That's what I did. I was destined to be a mum. I wanted to be from the age of 13. But the idea, I was obsessed with it because nobody thought I was going to. Obsessed. I was going to be a mum. I was going to get married. I was going to do all the things that other girls did, in spite of the fact that we knew I wasn't very well. So all of those things were different. And they were different for me. And there's more than that. And we're going to talk about those, no doubt. But if we're talking about what is lifespan planning, well, what do we do in it? And what do we go on about? Well, it's essentially we plan. But we don't just plan, okay? It's all right, this planning. There's a lot of things out here. In England, they kind of call it social prescribing a bit. Planning to go and do things. So here we are as a leaflet. Go and talk to those people there. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely amazing. We all need resources. So what do I do first? Well, first of all, you've got a plan. We've got to meet. We've got to get together in some way or form. And you need information in some way or form. However, I have to say that I'm just at the moment working in a local authority, and I was asked to create a resource bank. And the only resources I could get hold of are in this booklet that's got type that's about that big. And there's no other way of finding it. It's not on the web. There's no link. There's no QR code. There's not a place I can go on my phone. I can't hear it from anyone. I can't audio record it. There isn't a podcast. I can't read it in short excerpts. There's nowhere on Instagram to go and read a reel or look for a poster grid or whatever. There's no other way to imbibe it except this printed thing here. Well, not in my hand now, but well, it's not good enough for me. I need it in different ways. So when you come to inclusion, you're going to hear about lifespan planning through the plan that we make. You're going to make your own plan, and then we're going to share it together eventually. But today we're going to talk to people about the plans that they've made and how it's panning out once I've gone through this very quick run to about 5:30. So you got answers, questions and answers, contributions, whatever we want to do. I want to, let it flow with a plan. So what does lifespan planning involve? Well, it's involving this now. You can see it. Apart from the fact that we've got slides on, it's pretty much what you can see on that screen. So there it is materialized. It involves people getting together. Why? Because we're better together. Why are we better together? Because, well, great minds think alike. I know that fools seldom differ, but masterminds are, as Napoleon Hill alluded to in Think and Grow Rich and referred to in Outwitting the Devil. The mastermind is our greatest benefit. When we move together, think together, grow together, then we create together. And when you meet like-minded people that champion you, hold on to that, because we are the sum of the 5 closest people around us. And I thank God for that, because I know that I have fantastic people around me. And that's because I have ordered my world for that to be the case. And believe me that in lifespan planning, I'm not going to give you any promises, but I can tell you that then there within you, there is the power to change absolutely anything that you choose. So what does it involve? It involves getting together and finding out what is important to you. Now, I just give that as a tiny example of me thinking out loud tonight. The first thing we do when we talk with you. And believe me, there's an art to it. And I didn't realize what the art was until I've watched other people try not to do it, or try to do it, or not achieve it in many different formats over the last, years. I've seen people attempt to do this, but I think the art of finding out what's important to you and what your barriers are is something that's an alchemy. It's a practiced affair. It's something that takes hundreds of thousands of hours of practice. I only know because I realized that my development through lifespan planning has been pretty outstanding. And I applied this to me. When I discovered learning societies in 2001, and the creation of the 2000 paper learning societies, my life changed forever, because I realized that I had some building blocks and I could find out what was important. And I asked myself when I came round after COVID, because for those that are watching, I died during COVID. The reason that the Disabled Entrepreneur Club exists is because after COVID, I had to get a job. I then had to become self-employed. When I became self-employed, I learned very quickly that I had to create £6,000. I had a job too. It was hard to do both because I had to earn it in order to create it, because I wanted to serve people like this now. So I had to work, but I had to be in business. But that business had to create £6,000 in the first, £7,000 actually in the first year, and that was going to be a struggle. So I looked at the rules, and it meant that they were going to not just stop my access to work after a year, but they would bar me from being self-employed in that way for 5 years. I thought that was really unfair. I've set out to make a thing of it. I want people to know about it, but more than that, I want to make it fair. But I'd also like to share what I've learned over the last 30 years helping people forever. And there are hundreds of people that can come and tell you that if I chose to go and get them, and I probably will. But we find out, first of all, when you come to inclusion, and people will vouch for this, what's important to you. Because through our conversations and through the explorations that we have and through our sharing, and on a Monday night we share together between 7 and 8 generally in our Zoom call, we find out about each other. We find out what's important to us. I wanted to make a difference after COVID and before, but after COVID particularly. But I was feeling stuck. They were my barriers. I was in a hospital bed. I was in the wrong town, in the wrong country, actually doing the wrong thing. I wanted to continue learning, but I didn't know what as. Like, I was a SENDCO, but education was changing, and I didn't believe that the way the government was teaching disabled students, treating them was the right thing, and I can't put my name to it. It makes me feel a bit sick, actually, now. And that's what I've been doing for 15 years. I'll be honest, providing therapeutic services for the NHS doesn't really enamor me. I was a therapist. I am a therapist, but I was accredited and registered and up to date with the BACP. But to be honest, if I go and get a job that requires, it pretty much means it's either disabled students allowance or it's going into the NHS on a BABCUP, which is a form of CBT. In accreditation, basically doing CBT for the NHS with a manager that is my clinical supervisor. So the only piece of the puzzle that was missing, which was I've been doing the provision in the community through Yellow SOS for 15 years, but before we were incorporated, before there was a charity, the help's been happening since I was 19. Which of course means it's only 2 years ago, since I'm 21. But I wanted to continue learning what as well as a social worker is what I'm doing. So I'm almost 2/3 of the way through that. In fact, I'm over a quarter of the way through this placement. So we're on it. But how was I going to do that? Because I needed to earn enough. Can't get any money, even if I didn't borrow the money, and I will go on to that later. As a disabled student, as a normal student, you've got to pay for any subsequent degrees if you've got one. And I already did, even though I've never borrowed from student finance. So you need to know the rules, and you need to earn enough to do that. How was I going to do it? Well, there's a number of ways, but a few of my friends have told me that, and coaches have said 7 income streams, and that's pretty much where I'm at now. And I have to say, it works. When something gains momentum, and when you have a lot of little pots gaining momentum, and you don't have to dip into all of them, well, you start to earn sufficient. I'm not scrambling around for milk, money in the back of the settee anymore. And I'm not wondering whether I can bounce a £50 cheque on Proudfoots and eat Christmas dinner, which I once did, because I didn't have enough to do to have Christmas dinner, which sounds terrible and a little bit arrogant right now. But I did pay them back between Christmas and New Year because my benefits came. So how? Well, by hook or by crook, no, but by lots of different means, and that includes all of the benefits and opportunities that are around. And we have lots of information. One of our inclusion members taught us about food surplus opportunities, for example, just in one of the weeks. And we're going to be sharing all of those things together over the coming weeks as we dive into what it means to be part of inclusion. And then I wanted to feel connected to my loved ones, and that involved moving country. My children were grown, and I needed to be near my Welsh family, so that involved coming to Welsh Wales. So I did that. I finding out what's important to me doesn't just involve me; it involved talking to the people that are close to me, and that's what inclusion's about. It's about sharing what your barriers are, what's important to you, and what your hopes are. But it's also about, for me, as I learn, sharing with inclusion the things that I learn. And I have had to, and many of us have to, as a result of health inequalities, focus as part of lifespan planning, and it always was. I have worked progressively on understanding how to be me, whether that was I was doing aerobics in the 80s, won't be doing that now, or whether I was doing toning tables in the 90s, or whether in the noughties I was doing, I can't remember, to be honest. I think I was doing being pregnant. I'm not sure I was doing dieting in that. But that's what I lived. I lived with the diet ideas, and diets don't work, right? So as I started to learn how to take control, and that also involved some pharmaceutical release, not all of it, believe me, I'm not able to be medicine free. Some people aren't, and I'm one of them. But I am markedly reduced, and I have vastly made choices about different ways of being, and so have many of inclusion. And we're going to share those. The Magnificent Seven, and lifespan planning is about the Magnificent Seven. It's about all those things, and I have many, many secrets, of which some people need. Just as an example, and I'll share this in one of them. Between England and Wales, there's a certain medicine that's available through the NHS that in England is £500 a month on average per person, but if you move to Wales, it's free. Just that. And that probably covers about, lots of disabled people. There are many secrets, I don't know, hints, tricks, ways that lifespan planning affords because of all of the resolutions that we've had to find again and again and again. So we're talking about, I should have made those bigger: eat right, move right, sleep right, think right, drink right, talk right. I forget the other one. Oh, poop right. All those ways, right down to the fact that I'm going to be talking about the journey of finding out my gut biome in these webinars and how I've done that, what it's cost me, the two types of device I have been using and how I accessed them, what it was like, and what that's doing for my weight, for my health, for my knowledge, for my biofeedback, why biofeedback is a great method. All these things are going to be part of the webinar as we are diving every week into a new way of being included. And of course, we're talking about dementia being the third type of diabetes, they now say. So protecting ourselves from such sugar problems is protecting us from forms of dementia. So if you don't think the Magnificent Seven is your business because you're not that bothered, because you're not going to be here, because your family all die young, just think about how you want to make that end be, because I'd quite like to have my faculties, to be fair. So eat right. Eat right. How do we eat right? Well, I didn't even understand what cleanly eating was, but I've got people that I'm going to bring along that are going to share some absolutely phenomenal things, like sauerkraut, just a very small example, and magic honey. Oh, I shouldn't have told you that. It's a bit of a giveaway. Magic honey. Sleep right. I'm going to share about sleep tracking, about biofeedback, about the only psychiatric advice that I've ever been given over the years that's any good. And the only psychiatrist, indeed the only other practitioner that's ever given me the method by which I help the insomniac not be. So when we talk about sleep right, you want to be there, literally. And you want to be with the people that are coming. Move right. Well, we've already alluded to that in inclusion tonight before we arrived here, and we're going to talk about that. I feel like I'm nicking the time. We've got 20 minutes. I'm going to go. Because the sports that we're taking part in and the things that we've experienced and the things that we do are phenomenal. And we need more of it. And we want to bring on some great sporting, amazing humans to inclusion to be part of these webinars. And I'm very excited about who and what and how we have the opportunity to do over the coming year, and why we are recording these and filming them and putting them on the YouTube channel and developing, and why our marketing team is now 4 strong, because our opportunities are endless and we are endlessly grateful. Drink right. Well, I'll tell you this. I am in touch with a company who are producing a magical drink. And there's a few out there, but the ones that I drink already are magical, and they're the teas and the coffees and the hot chocolates and the mochas and the lattes that I also distribute that have this magic ingredient in it. If you want to know more about that, I want to talk about Drink Right. I'm going to be talking about water and hydrogenated water and water filters and chlorine and fluoride rather in water, and all of the ways in which we are being conned. And what about bottled water and indeed sparkling water? What about flavored water? It's a watery affair, but that's just going to be one entire happening. And we even have people that are experts in rainwater. You won't believe the people that I've got to know as I've explored my magnificent 7. The poop right was the one that made me laugh, was the fact that I had to send my own poop away in the post. Poop in the post. I didn't poop in the post, I sent it in the post. Just to clarify. Think right, of course, is just phenomenal when I am now testing what I can only describe as a hack to brain wiring. Not only are these the hack, not only are I can't even find them, but the drops that I take, a massive hack, which I'm going to be talking about at the event on the 29th of March in Cardiff. Where there's more than that, I can assure you, but that's certainly going to be something I talk about. When you put those two together, it's phenomenal. But then furthermore to that, I now have a game. I found a game, and we're all better, aren't we, when we're playing a good game? So I am learning to think right, and then talk right. Well, I've put myself up for a comedy training program, because I've decided that I ought to get funny, because I'm just not. So I'm going to go and learn how to be funny. And I think it feeds into the Speaker Academy that I did last year, and also the many opportunities that I've had over my lifetime to accept awards or whatever, speak with third sector groups, talk on stage, all of those things, as well as the training that I've done over the last few years from great people, great stage speakers like Pete Cohen. His Away Academy was phenomenal, and I have people who can testify to that. So we'll be bringing those kind of skills, those ways. This whole thing of I didn't know what Facebook did when I first came onto social media, and now we are live. I don't know, everywhere, and this dog. So how to speak right, not only out loud and screaming into the void of social media, but also to each other, non-combative communication, and speaking our truth, being able to assert our own needs whilst also accommodating others. Speak right. It's a massive one, and inclusion is a great place where we share those very many skills with each other. So we are the Magnificent Seven. We always have been, but more than that, we're looking to make inclusive the Magnificent Seven. So it's okay having a gym, but what about an inclusive gym? Because I'm finding it very difficult to get the kind of hand cycle that I would like in any gym, let alone every gym. And I personally think that my exercise is just as appropriate. So the Magnificent Seven is part of lifespan planning. And I'm going to run through this quickly because I don't want people to be here and then them not share. But we do have, a quarter of an hour, a quarter of our time together after this. This is a really quick run through, but just to give you an example of why lifespan planning and why coming to these webinars is important if you're a disabled person, and why this is going to be basically a one-stop shop. What is important to learn and why? Well, what's important to learn about if you're disabled is PIP and DLA and AA. Why? Well, because they're not income-related disability benefits. It comes in 3 stages. And if you don't know that, then you need to come and learn. And if you're disabled, there's a non-means tested benefit that you can have or apply for, at least. But you got to know how. It's not exactly what's happening, it's how you explain what's happening. And then what that means for subsequent applications if you go the 3 ways, because there are 3 stages. And you need to begin with the end in mind, which is that whatever happens, if you believe you're entitled to that money, then you go to the 3 stages and you get help going through that, I think, personally. But also pension credit, tax credit, incapacity benefit, employment support allowance, universal credit, housing benefit, or local housing allowance as people call it now, and council tax benefit. There are many rules that are individual to the individual to the people receiving it, individual to their family makeup. But believe me, there are rules that need to be navigated. And if you think that there isn't anything out there for you, then it's really rare that I meet somebody that I don't know, we don't know, that we haven't got a shared experience in inclusion to share all the things that you need actually. But in these webinars, we're going to be talking about all of those. And then on its own has to be disabled students allowance, an entire learning sphere, how post-14 children can move into level 4 and above learning. That's it. And I'm a post-14 specialist facilitator, and we have an assistive technology facilitator. We have a lot of learned experience, a lot of existing students, and I am a multiple graduate. I'm probably a serial graduate. I don't know if there is one of them, but I'm it. And access to work, a massive one, where I will be guest speaker for our webinar, because at the end of the day, we are Access to Work Accessibility Partners is doing it a different way. I said that a bit quickly. Accessibility Partners is doing it a different way. And you need to come and hear how, because we are the leaders in this field. I say we, in that my team and I speak for them, because without them, I really wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Not a chance. Not a chance. We're better together. And disabled facilities grants, again, a law onto themselves and a sectional on their own. But what has to tie in there is everything of and above that we've talked about. I was talking with OTs today about disabled facilities grants being partnered with Access to Work infrastructure grants, and the OT clapped and got excited and said, I've been waiting for you in my life, kind of thing. I was very excited. These people don't know what's out there, and they'd never even thought of Access to Work. The words were, why didn't I think of Access to Work? They're in their 30s. I said, because you're an OT and we don't think about each other's cupboards. So we will be talking about all things housing, and disabled facilities grants are all things housing. But there are loads of things outside of housing. Becoming a gold star housing member and how you get there. There are a million things. And what of, housing? How do you access housing together? What of moving in together? What about those things? What about when you don't want to live on your own? What are the implications there? Well, come and find out about housing. And then access to provision from assessment and diagnoses. Somebody said to me yesterday, the university says that I'm not going to get the diagnosis I want from this assessment. And I said, no, but the assessment that you're going to get is going to show whether you have dyslexia. And as a side product of seeing that whether you have dyslexia, then lots of these numbers will indicate to a learned doctor about some of the other things that you may be experiencing, which will probably get you through to a next stage of a different diagnostic process. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's a freebie for everybody out there. Believe me. If you're at university and you don't know whether you have a learning difference, the university can fund, as long as you know how. Please come along and find out, because it's all individual to each university. You can find out ways which you may be entitled to funding to have an educational psychological assessment to find out. That gives you learning at the same starting block as other students. That's just one thing that we're going to talk about, but you need to know how, so come along. So we're having a little bit of information, but you need to know how, seriously. And then we're going to be talking about children's education, my specialism actually, and not something I talk about very often, because I put 3-5 children through the education, and it was hard, right? Really hard, really hard. The SEND process, the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Process in Tribunals, the alternatives, education otherwise, or REOTAS as they called it in North Yorkshire, and homeschooling, and all things neurodivergent, and what that might mean for now and then the future, and then what for education, and then what for level 4, and how do we access that, and what we're going to do with our neurodivergent kids that have all been exited from school. Just saying. Inclusion knows. We're going to do a webinar. You're invited. We want you to come and ask your questions like we've got now. Last minute. I'm a bit late. Here I go. It's travel and transport. We've talked about that, but we're going to bring on as many people as we can to talk about this issue. But these webinars are for you, and they're to share, and they are for you to donate. So please do donate, and I'm going to ask really for you to tell the people with us. I'd like you each to tell the people that are with us, those that are watching, those that are going to be watching this in the future, those that want to know whether inclusion's worth, well, donating to for a start, contributing to in as far as skills and ideas, but also insofar as telling people about us. And what inclusion's done for you. I don't know if anyone, we have 1 million people. So with me tonight, I've got Chris. I'm going to see if I can even read these. There we go. I've got my eyes. I'm so sorry. I'm a lady of a certain age, and I need some new glasses. I'm just waiting for an assessment. Chris and Andrew and Philippa and Trey and Kelly and James and Alexia. We have got, well, as long as you like. I said till 9 o'clock, but to be honest, we can do what we want. We're inclusion. Good evening. Thank you for being with me here. I'm just going to close this. There we go. So we actually all have, some of us have our camera on. You're welcome to have it on or not. We can either go in turn, or somebody can say good evening. What would you like to do? We've got some minutes together. So what does inclusion mean to you? What about lifespan planning? What would you like to contribute? I much prefer to do it that way.
Good evening, everybody. As this is our first webinar, I was going to say that there is nothing like this. There is nothing like inclusion, and if anybody's watching this and needs to know these things, there's no other one-stop shop where you can learn about where all of the things that MJ has just discussed. I didn't know about hardly any of it before I met MJ. Now I'm working with her to help him provide these services. So as MJ says, as we go through these webinars, it will unlock, because if you've got a disability or you've got a family member who's got a disability or to know someone who's got a disability, this unlocks the world for them. Whether that be, it might be equipment, whether it be work, whether it be workfulness, or if you can't be workful, it unlocks the benefit system. It unlocks everything that that they don't. Okay, they're political, but they don't necessarily want you to know about, because if they did, we wouldn't be here, because everybody would know about it. So,
True.
so I would say, if you're watching this and you want to, and this is something you need, as you always say, MJ, you might not need it now, but unfortunately the odds are not to be too dark, but you might in the future. And as MJ was saying about somebody we know who said, he's not planning on being that. Well, if anybody can plan, we talked about lifestyle planning, okay, and which we agree, planning where you'd like to be, but you've also got to plan for the curveballs. You've got to plan for the things that you don't know that are going to happen, and this is a way to, as they say, forewarned is forearmed. And if you know about it, you might not ever need it, but if you don't need it now, you very might do. So it's an extremely valuable resource, and if anybody's able to donate, it just helps us just help more and more and more people. And unfortunately, the need is there, and the need is was not being served, but we hopefully can change that. So,
and just in case anyone wants to know, believe me that the products that are needed to carry out these messages is not funded by anybody. So if you think that everybody's sat here on lots of pennies for doing nothing, we're absolutely not. All of this is free of charge, and we do this through inclusion because we actually care about our community, and we care about our community having real information that's based on reality and experience, and on each other's experience, and on the lived experience, and not just on a piece of paper that's produced by the government, who often will say things I've noticed, but they're not very explicit. And I'm afraid I'm a little bit of an explicit person in that I like to have it kind of really very clear. So if I can see hundreds of people go through it and I can say, listen, I've seen this happen 97 out of 100 times. For me, that's just a better way of knowing something than just reading it or being told it on a telephone line or having it sent to me by the government, because I'll be honest, I don't think they get it completely right when you hear some of the things about pensioners paying far too much money last year in tax and it all being part of a system and they can claim it back if they want. Like what? I just think sometimes you need to watch them, and it's a good idea to come and learn some of the things that disabled people don't get told. For example, DLA, PIP. If you don't apply for it, you can't have it. And you can't have it unless you apply for it, and you don't get it except from the day you apply. So if you leave it another week, you have potentially a week's less money. That's just one thing. But believe me, that's just the tiniest thing in the entire world. But if that saves you from holding off, from finding out about it and ordering the form and then coming to that webinar, then brilliant. Do it. Order the form if you think. Go and read about it. Go and have a look. I hope so. So yeah, yes, Christian. Things that we didn't know about. Attendance allowance, nobody knows. And if they do know, they don't know how to get it. And they don't know how easy it is when they know that they've got somebody that deserves it, that has the needs. I'm using the wrong words. That has the needs for that, right? And it's just, it comes, you apply for it. If the doctor knows that you're a person and those things are happening, it comes in your bank. It's not rocket science, but you do need to know, don't you? I'm glad it's changing your life. You're just having your garden cleared, aren't you? Is it happened yet, or is it tomorrow?
No, they came today.
Yep. There we are, you see. You can have trees up and all sorts. Oh, there are things happening to Christian's house so that everybody can get in and out and roll about, because everybody needs to be able to get everywhere, particularly at home, right? So these are the changes. Then come to the DFG, right? Because I bet Christian will be there and be like, oh, I need to know these secrets. And also about where you can get cool stuff that's not horrible. for disabled people, because some of it really isn't that nice, I'll be honest. So we've even got people who, well, have fittings and fixtures and things and ways that just make things for disabled people a bit sexier. So I'm looking forward to that one too. Yeah, anybody else who's available, who's unmiked? Philippa, did I see my mic? Okay.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Trey.
Yeah, I'd like to go next if that's okay, please.
I'd love you to.
I just want to say, everyone, I know I'm not always in the meetings. I haven't been in the meetings recently, one thing or another. Things have been a bit hectic. But I really appreciate Inclusion as an organisation. In terms of what it's done for me personally, I'm an electronic musician and businessman, and it's helped me with my organisation, my business and my music, but it's also helped me to understand the needs of other people with disabilities because I'm totally blind with cerebral palsy. Now, I'm really excited about this announcement tonight. I've been looking forward to this kind of thing and hoping it'd be around for a long while. I'm going to place a quick emphasis on financial literacy because a lot of the aspects which MJ is discussing tonight and what lifespan planning is basically future planning, if you will. Disabled people don't really get planned for the future because I'm going to be incredibly blunt here. A lot of people don't think we're going to have one. That's the truth. And when we do, everyone's so surprised and inspired. But what I'm going to say is that financial literacy is so important. It's something that I'm only beginning to gain. I'm 35 years old. Yeah, I'm 35 years old. I'm just moving out of home. I'm learning about access to work, and I've made my mistakes over the years of finances, and sometimes continue to, and I'm sure I will. But I think financial literacy for disabled people is so important, and I actually want to try and learn about investing properly. And the reason why I haven't dipped my toe in the water with that is because there is so many scammers out there and people that talk absolute rubbish. You just don't know to trust. But I just wanted to say, I'm really looking forward to everything. I love what Inclusion does as an organization. And I'm going to say, I want to say this in a public webinar because we're in a public webinar. What MJ has done for self-development in the UK is unique and revolutionary. I know of nobody else who has brought self-development to disabled people in such a relatable way. And I know of no other organisations that do the kind of inclusion work that Inclusion does to join everything together. Because what Inclusion does is joins everything together. Mentioning access to work, DSA, PIP, OT, moving in, having relationships, having work, going abroad, taking trips, being financial, all in the same breath, not necessarily in the same sessions, but in the same breath, and a lot of the time in context that people can understand. And if you can, everyone, donate. I'll be donating soon, I know. And I think it's just really important, and I'm really excited. And I want to say, well done, MJ. And I want to really wish the seminar project well, even though we're all involved in it. But I really do. I'm really excited for this whole project, man. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I might have a little project of my own that helps Inclusion actually, but I've got to look into that. But yeah, I want to say big love to you all, and I'm just really excited, to be honest. That's it. That's all, really.
I'm feeling excited. I feel excited because this is a different way of doing it, right? Why should we just do what we've been doing all the time? I think people are bored of the temp.
Just a quick question, sorry.
Oh, go on,
if
yeah.
you don't mind. Are you going to develop like handouts and associated resources? Maybe we could all work together to build these handouts, and that could be something. I don't know. It's just a thought that I had like 2 seconds ago.
I think resources are a fantastic idea, and I certainly think that electronic resources, and I think that pooled electronic resources, I think wiki style pooled electronic resources that are kind of fact checked isn't such a bad thing, to be fair. I think that's a fantastic plan. I really do. I think that that's a fantastic plan. And I think that's why alchemy happens when we get together. What did I say about Mastermind? You are an amazing part of our Mastermind. You really are. And it doesn't matter whether you've been here once for Inclusion or every week, right? And that's the thing about Inclusion. We dip in, we dip out, we arrive, we leave. We're sometimes there, we sometimes can't be. But when we're together, it's always a different story, but the same one that we're better there. than we are when we're apart. So we love it when you come home, and we also love it when you are apart from us and you go and learn things and grow. That's what it's about. So I'm glad you're here, and thank you for picking it up, because I think it's important that we do things differently, that we showcase our ways of being, and we're not ashamed of the fact that actually all these things are ours. You know, I receive personal independence payment, and I don't mind saying it.
The
It's
thing that's, can I just say, the thing that's so important about this, what you've launched in tonight, MJ, and what you've announced tonight, the thing that's so important about it, I'll tell you something what it is, yeah, it's a public resource, right? So, okay, yeah, anyone can come and join inclusion, sure, but on StreamYard, it's a public resource for people to just randomly come and observe, you know. And also, the good thing is that maybe some professional people that are helping disabled people, but they're not disabled themselves, maybe they'll come and they'll learn a thing or 500, yeah, about the scenario, about the situation, about how we live, yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna say what will hip hop say, yeah? Hip hop says, let's get it. So everyone, let's go, let's get it. Yeah.
Yeah, got you. Absolutely. I completely agree. I think that people do want to know. They do. They want to know. And they need to, right? Because I think people don't want to come, and even on Clubhouse, people kind of hide from inclusion and then message me afterwards. So there's definitely a little bit of shame about inclusion, which is weird for me. But obviously that's because I'm on the inside looking out as well as the outside looking in. It's very strange. The wheelchair means that I'm always on the inside looking out, because unless I'm sat on a settee somewhere and the chair's been whipped away, everybody knows. So it's difficult for me to hide, a bit like you. It's hard to facade and be one of the normals. I'm not really sure what it's like to be treated like one. I've seen them, I've observed it. But yeah, that absolutely we need to showcase these things. And I'm not saying that that is a terrible thing. I'm just saying that moving through the world's not easy, and the way you do it, I marvel at every day, Trey. Just saying. So, anyone else? Are we running away? Yay! There we are, Alexia.
But
Good.
we'll hear one way or another. One of the biggest things of being part of inclusion, you can belong to many organisations, but they're only one thing. And what I mean by one thing, that might be dyslexia, that might be a reading group, that might be a modelling group. But everybody here has some kind of challenge. And I'm sure Trey will agree, normally blind people would only stick to blind groups. We don't. We will accept anyone with a disability in the group. And we've got all ages, all types. I'm well in retirement age. I'm not the oldest person that MJ works with, but I'm one of the older ones, well into retirement age. But let's face facts, we're going to live longer.
We are.
We're definitely going to live longer.
No, we are. We are.
I've worked really physically hard. I was brought up when I'm a few years older than MJ, but with a similar sort of attitude to what MJ's background would have been. Well, you're not disabled. You've got to fit in with the world. She's laughing because she knows exactly what I mean. But why should you have to? I travelled a lot to London for years working with polio, struggling to get off trains. And if anyone has been at London Bridge at 8:30 in the morning, it's like a zombie thing. I've got to get on that train, and I'm not ashamed to say it wasn't the first time I hit somebody with my walking stick to get them to move, because they were a lot bigger than me and they weren't going to, otherwise they were going to push me out of the way. So we've got to get the world to realise, and MJ's already said this, you might not be disabled right now, but that could hit you 2 minutes. Oh, you walk out the door, you fall over, or it could be a medical issue that hits you, that disability. This is
Yeah.
this is what people need to realise. How long did it take you to convince me that I needed help because I'd been so independent?
I get it. I totally get it. A long time, right?
It-
A long time.
I've only now, and you've been pushing for a while, and Maria had been pushing for a while to say, don't you really think you need support in the home?
Stop it.
Because I've always had to do it. I've worked for people, I've run my own business, I had a cleaning business. I've
No, it's rather you not doing it from the floor all the time. Just say it. I just think it's the amount of floor time we're having that I'd rather we try to reduce just a slightly. Yeah. So when yeah. Anyway, I think that's when you know things are. It's a bit like James. He had a bit of a trip. Did our
Yeah.
James? He knew he had to calm down. So yeah, I just think a bit of the floor time you've got just is indicative that it might be time to get a little bit of help.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason that I took on writing the books, and the reason that I write about the planet, because it fits in so perfectly with what you say about food. But you can't have good food if you don't look after the planet. Because if you've just planted that field up and that's organic, but somebody's just eaten a Mars bar and thrown that wrapper out in the
Well,
winter, that's blown into your organic field, I'm sorry, that's not an organic crop anymore.
no, and I can't even get a van that's electric to have a wheelchair accessible vehicle. So I'm already at a disadvantage. So if we're talking about those things, we also, as disabled people, have a duty about the way that we're helping people save the planet is also not quite as equal as it could be, and it's very difficult.
This morning
We need to invest in services for everybody, right?
we do. This morning I went out with Belle and I can't drag the trailer now. It's just too painful for my leg. I can only just about make it 3/4 of the way comfortably down my road before I struggle.
Yeah. Well, that's
there's
why we're going to Access to Work for some help, aren't we, for work?
Yeah.
And why you're getting a new scooter, courtesy of your ways that your friend puts things together.
But I mean, just a simple thing, just to show you how people could make things better for themselves. The thing I did when I had no money in the bank, I didn't know how the heck I was going to get out of debt after a fraud that took everything. You imagine being really wealthy and then the next day finding the lot is gone. I didn't just sit back. What you have to remember is you get little gifts of opportunities offered to you.
Mm.
And whether you take them or not. And somebody offered me, she said, you're going to come and live with me. You're not going to be on your own. I said, I can't do that. You haven't known me 5 minutes. No, you're not going on the street. I promised her I would turn my life around. I went and volunteered. I can tell the company because I have their permission. I went and volunteered for Marie Curie, who are advertising on the TV at the minute, as a volunteer, and left Marie Curie when I moved to where I am now as a manager.
Incredible.
So I only talk about those stories for people to realise that disability doesn't mean life stops. Age doesn't mean life stops either.
No.
I'd written
No.
my essay for university, but Marie read it and she said, you do realise it's got to be geared to children, so it had to be reworded.
Fantastic.
With her help, that was reworded. But what you've never realised is, and I've talked about this taking on the most scary thing I could do. Marie can understand because she spends Mondays with me. Going to university is the most terrible thing I could do because I didn't even like putting pen to paper. So when I get worried about university, you just multiply that 10 times.
Yeah.
You'll understand why occasionally I get a bit wound up, like when things I couldn't get in the room.
I've screamed, I've cried, I've kicked, I've spat my dummy. I've gone to bed. I've gone out and got drunk. I've gone out and done ridiculous things as a result of university. I've rung other people's cousins and cried down the phone when I've never met them about a maths exam. I mean, the crazy things I've done because of learning are just really. I think I've done so much learning that I've done all the crazy things in the world. So just bring it on, because I understand how painful it is. It's actually painful, but anything, what they say about anything that's worth doing.
But what I would say is, with that and what you're saying about this and the importance of not doing support of any level, whether it's for university or whether it's BSA on your own, is, I'm ashamed to say, because what they'll try and do, I don't care which one you're talking about, they'll try and trip you up.
It's just hard, isn't it? If you don't know the roadmap, if you don't know the pinch points, if you don't know the ways of it being processed, if you don't understand the timelines, if you don't know the lingo, if you can't speak the language, if you don't know the evidence requirements, if you haven't got a clue about what might be possible, how can any of it make any sense to anybody?
Well, you've almost got to be a mind reader to look at some of the questions that you get in DSA.
Sometimes in DSA, I'll be honest, sometimes Alexia, I have to read it. Now, I've done it for 15 years, but every year they bring a new form out. And I have to read some of those questions about 14 times each. Sometimes I'm like, is my cousin's brother's auntie an EU Swiss representative who once had a business somewhere in the EU that wasn't what? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read that again and again and again. Luckily, it's very often no. I don't have one of those, thankfully.
Yeah.
If I did, I think I'd know about it.
So if anyone can step up and they take that on, let's put it this way, you can take on just about anything in life.
Absolutely, 100%. It's why university is a way. University is a rite of passage. It's a way of showing that you can commit to something really blooming hard that takes flipping forever and is in a really annoying way of doing it, and not the way you want to, because that's the whole point of having to do things in the wrong way, in a different way, in the way that somebody told you. Learning information and regurgitating it in a way that's useful and makes you think, and also independent. So you've got to get to be an independent learner too, all whilst you're learning, all whilst you're having to produce this stuff you don't want to, all whilst you're excited, all whilst you're getting all the equipment and they haven't come yet. Like what? It's massive.
When you come to do it, if you've only had really basic schooling like I've had, I was told I would never get A O-levels, GCSEs. So what am I doing at university? Because that was what I was told.
Absolutely. And like I say, it just shows you that you can smash everything out the ballpark. Number one, with enough audacity, I'll be honest. I think you just have to have an element of audacity in life. I think being audacious and saying this is how it is, your dreams are you're never going to succeed more than your dreams are as big. You're just not any more than your dreams are big. You can only succeed to the limit of your dreams. And when I learned that, I was like, oh, well, there we are then. I best dream to the 10th dimension, and then everything's possible. That's me done. It was like one easy wish. Everything to the 10th dimension and beyond. Job done. There we are. I don't need to wish anything anymore. I've put it out into the cosmic ordering system, and it is done. I'm going off on a tangent now, but we are definitely better together in university for you. I mean, you're not the most senior clients that I've ever known that went to university. And I've certainly never been your university tutor or anything to do with your DSA, but I've helped you understand the process and access it and get there. And now you've had all your AT training on all of it, but nearly all of it. You're amazing. I've seen you on Glean now. And for you to know these things it's an honor. Do you know that? I'd have done it on my day off to help you learn these skills.
Well, I would just like to say something here that I hope people will understand how these little things can come about. When I met you on Clubhouse, and I remember you coming in that room when you could hardly speak, in Pete's Clubhouse room, And then Marie came along, and I thought, there's two people I want to work with. And I let it go. And then I thought, this is not happening. No, just leave it alone. Let it be. The universe will do this when the universe is ready.
No, look,
And look what's happened. The
absolutely. I tell you,
when
we've
it's
done some amazing things together. Do you know what I think was the greatest thing we did at the beginning? It was when we put our hearts together to raise funds for our friend in Uganda. I think that once we reached outside of our comfort zone, outside of our country, outside of what was expected, outside of what everybody else would think, actually, and reached into somebody, and that's where I think I just want to make the distinction here, that when we raised money as a collective, and there was a lot of people we got there, you know, the beginning of that had some amazing speakers. Some amazing gifting of people's well-being and skills. And if anyone, I don't know where those clubhouse rooms are. I think I'm going to ask Pete if he knows where they are, because those love rooms were amazing.
oh my
24 hours we put on a love summit about love, and honestly it was phenomenal. And we you know, it was the collective action of community together, of shared ideals, of shared goals. And we raised enough to buy a farm. Those children are now at school. That farm is now giving those children a job. We're raising funds. We've nearly done it for a tractor. They're going to be employing and training. They're going to be leasing their tractor. It's a small business in its own right. The children are going to get houses on the farm. They're going to be able to live independently instead of living in one house. They've got beds for the first time. I mean, that's
beautiful. Do you remember that one where they got the wood to build the house, to build the beds, and the children couldn't sleep in the beds to begin with because they just weren't used to it?
That's underneath, didn't they?
Yeah.
So we've made some magic together, and they've all been, dare I say it, almost practice runs for, you know, global endeavours like this. And those children are going to grow and see you write to them every week, grow and see what we create over here, and they will be part of global inclusion. And I'm reaching from here right to those children and round again to our friends in Australia and those in America, and those, you know, all over the world now, because inclusion is growing, and the people that know us as a movement are growing, and those that are involved and watching us are growing, and those that come and replay these and then come back to me are growing. So I want to say thank you. If anyone does also want to share.
One more thing about that, and then I will be quiet.
Oh, go ahead.
There's so many organisations out there now asking for money. If you want to donate to somewhere safe, then Inclusion or Mandela is a safe place, because in both cases we can show you exactly where that money is going.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of people out there that see all these adverts and things on TV for all these different things, and we've all heard the stories. Well, only about a third of what is donated actually gets the source, and sometimes none of it does for bureaucratic reasons. So here's two safe places that you can donate. I've been writing to those children almost since the first time Mandela came in that room. And in that 2 years, I've only missed 4 times of writing of them. And one of them was because I had to get a TMA into university, and I genuinely forgot to do it. And I'm going to be quiet now.
You're amazing. Thank you, Alexia. Anybody want to add? We've gone longer than we should, but I'm sure people are absolutely riveted. Does anybody want to have some final words? So Philippa, please, I love you. Share if you'd like to.
Mine's a bit positive, and I'm sorry if that isn't a happy place for everybody, but I'm not unpositive about it. I am positive about everything is kept secret from us when it comes to what we're allowed to get, what we're entitled to get. And today, my big gripe is the fact that, having got the care that I need to live, I get a budget that is beyond anything I've ever seen in my life, and I'm expected to know how to spend it and account for it, and I'm expected to know how to employ people. And I'm autistic. I have a social communication disorder, and I'm expected to know how to create adverts, how to interview, how to someone is lying to me in an interview, and then train them and employ them appropriately. And today is another day when that has gone disastrously wrong, and I am back down the road of disciplinary procedures, which I find terribly upsetting and must be very upsetting for the person involved as well. Or because we're just given these things to do. Oh, you're disabled. Well, surely you can be an employer then.
It's not easy.
So that's my gripe of today.
I would imagine.
I know that those within inclusion, for me to gripe.
Absolutely, you should gripe. That's what we're here for. And not just griping, but we're here for sharing our experiences, and some of them are horrendous. You know, it took me 5 years to get my PIP. I'll share that when we get to the PIP week. 5 years. So we've gone on a long time. Is there anybody that hasn't shared that would like to? I don't want to force everybody, but hey, Cal.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I mean, there's been quite a few things that you've said that I've kind of thought, yeah. Like, one, why should people feel ashamed to be on benefits? Right on, man. Right on. Why should they? It's, you know, it's what we rely on. Well, no, not everybody, but when people can't work full time, what else are you supposed to do? Why should people feel ashamed for that?
Absolutely.
I don't think that they should. But also, just kind of going back to my own situation prior to discovering accessibility partners and inclusion. This time last year, I thought I knew what I was working towards and what I would be happy with. But the reality of it is, okay, so I've kind of had a few ups and downs and what have you. But now I'm thinking, no, I wasn't put on this planet to do that. I'm capable and worth more. And I think that had I not had a few downs to go with the ups and not found accessibility partners inclusion and been inspired by, you know, yourself, MJ, but everybody else that I've spoken to and I've listened to week after week. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, we are better together. I say it every week. I say it every day, actually, but I say it 3 times a week on social media as I scream into the void, my children will tell me. Well, I'll tell you what, if we change one mind and one heart, and we ever tell somebody something that means that they get included in a way, then that's me won. That'll do. And if this ever gets played again, which it inevitably does, then we've won. And if that gets shared, then we've won. And if our words mean anything, then we're winning. And we're winning against a big monster. I see it as like this great big monster on the horizon that is the capitalist society going, no, sorry, there isn't enough. Well, there is, actually is. And I think we just need to reorganize the way that society shares it. That's what I think. And I think inclusion is part of that. That's what I think. So thank you for being here. I'm going to let you all go to bed now because it's ridiculous o'clock. We've been inclusion.
One very quick point in case anybody's watching this and thinks that that's not a background, it is a virtual background.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's where you live. I want that piano. I can't play the piano. No reason for one, but I desperately want one. Yeah, don't poke your piano because it looks like it was real. I was trying to. You live somewhere amazing. Oh, I don't know what that is. Right, we are going. Have an amazing evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm going to end the stream.